Welcome to MegaNet Gaming, and today's review is going to be on a game released in 1989 for bulletin board systems at the time, and that is Legend of the Red Dragon. It's an early BBS MUD. It's a role-playing game. So anyway, Legend of the Red Dragon was developed by Seth Robinson under Robinson Technologies. He was 14 at the time, ran a bulletin board system, and didn't have access to other door games at the time. Basically, on the bulletin board system, you'd have different places you could go on there, and for the games, you'd have them behind different sections. And a door is basically it's an interface between the bulletin board and an external application, which for door games would be the game. So you go through the menu, find the game, and you're able to play it on that computer. Now you can play this single player, but it is designed for playing multiplayer. Nowadays, there's hundreds of Telnet BBSs you can log into, as well as quite a few websites that host the game. So it is something you can play on variety devices to this day, and without racking up a phone bill like you would back in the late 80s, early 90s. So, anyway, the game is mostly text with some ANSI graphics, as shown here. The ANSI graphics are quite well done for what they are. And there's numerous scenes where you have different graphics to support the text. It is a game that's typically set to be turn limited, so you have so many fights you can do it in a day. The last one I played on had 25 forest fights, which are like your creature NPC battles for experience, and 3 player versus player fights. So that had PvP and PvE. So with Legend of the Red Dragon, you start off by picking first your gender and your class. You have the Death Knight, who's the warrior, the Mystic, who's your mage, or you can be a thief, who's like your rogue type character. And each one has their own benefits and drawbacks. It also changes the gameplay quite a bit depending on which one you get. As you progress through the game, you're given a variety of opportunities to try to gain skill points, which you can, as you get more skill points, you can learn more skills and use more skills in the NPC fights. So here we'll show Legend of the Red Dragon in the background, playing it in a web browser. So with the Death Knight, while you're in the forest, you can be brought to a dungeon where you're asked to be the judge and jury to a prisoner. You can either release them if innocent or send them to death if guilty. If you choose correctly, you get a skill point. For every 4 skill points you get 1 use point, and that's what really matters as far as the battle goes. With the Mystic, you gain skill points by stumbling upon the house of an old mage, and you can either knock or bang on the door, and then you're asked to guess a number between 1 and 100 within 6 guesses, and if you guess correctly, you get a skill point. And with some of the different skills available is you have Pinch, Disappear, Heat Wave, Light Shield, Shatter, and Mind Heal. Now the Thief, you have the opportunity You can gain skill points by being confronted by the Thieves Guild. They'll ask for a gem in return for a lesson. And you also have the chance to rob the bank or even break into rooms. Now, besides leveling up, really your goal of leveling up is you want to level up, accrue gold, and then upgrade your weapons and your weapon and armor, and get to the point where you can defeat the master for that level. You have 12 levels. Level 12 is where you have the chance to fight the red dragon. As far as the weapons go, you start off, the most basic one is a stick. Then you go dagger, short sword, long sword, huge axe, bone crusher. Set up all the way up to the death sword. With armor, you go from the coat to heavy coat, leather vest, bronze armor, iron armor. Keep going all the way up to armor of love. Just to put into perspective what the cost of these items are and their impact. A stick adds 5 strength and costs 200 gold, while the most expensive one, that's the death sword, costs 400 million gold and raises your strength by 1800. With the armor of love, it's the same price, raises your defense by 1,000, and the coat, the same price as the stick, and raises your defense by 1. There are a lot of optimal strategies for going through this game. Certain weapons you should buy, ones you shouldn't buy, and sometimes it's not always in your best interest to fight the master and level up. Some people would say at certain levels, it's best to just stick in that level and keep accruing experience, given every time you are killed in a PvE fight, you end up losing gold on hand and 10% of your experience. Which 10% of your experience, if you have 20 million experience, is quite a big chunk of experience. And if you die a few days in a row at a high level, you can end up in quite the hole. Given this is a competitive game, I'm to see who can kill the red dragon either first or who can kill it a certain number of times before anybody else. Dying and falling behind, even dying just once or twice, can actually get you effectively out of being competitive for winning the game. You do have a variety of places you can go. The forest is where you fight things. You have a slaughter other players option, which is where you can look for people to attack. If the person's dead, you can't fight them. If they're offline but alive and not at the inn, you can fight them. Or you can bribe the innkeeper to break into their room if they're within a certain number of levels of you. Or if they're online, you can challenge them to a fight. And depending on the actual settings, you'll either be required to fight them or the person can turn down your request to fight. You have King Arthur's weapons and Abdul's armor, which are your weapons and armor shops, respectively. Healer's Hut is where you go and you pay for healing, which costs per hit point. There is a bulletin board system here where you can put like a little forum thing in the inn. There's also a tavern that you can find in the forest. And you can, if you have a horse, which you can actually find a horse during your battle, you can travel directly there. There's some other places there's one place where you can arrange flowers. You can also leave a message there, or you can write mail to other players. There actually is a whole system in game where you can actually marry other players or do flirtatious, intimate things with other players. Now, in the end, there's a few important things there. You can trade in your gems for certain benefits. You can hear Seth Abel the Bard, which gives you a random benefit. It could be money in the bank, extra forest fights or player fights for the day. If you're male, you can do everything from Wink up to Mary Violet, who's the barmaid. And if you're female, you can do the same with Seth Abel the Bard. The daily news option shows what's going on in the game, which also shows if somebody died in either a player fight or if somebody just posts something by making an announcement. So Turgon's warrior training is where you go to raise your level. Your experience has to be at or above a certain level, a certain amount, to be eligible to fight the master. You can't use special skills during the fight. It's in your best interest to make sure you have the best gear for the fight so you don't waste a fight. However, if you do lose the fight during the warrior training session, you don't end up dead. You don't lose experience or anything either. So yeah, by today's standards, it's a very basic game. However, it is a top tier game. Very simple. Gives you a lot of different ways to play your character. It's highly competitive. The fights are fair. And even though you have to use your imagination for the most part as far as imagery, when they do use the ANSI graphics, they are quite well done. There's a reason why people still play this game over 30 years after its release, and many people play on multiple servers as well. So, anyway, as far as where I'm going to rank this game, I'm going to go ahead and rank it number 3 on our list. It's a bit of that's probably nostalgia. However, it is pretty much universally agreed upon by people who play BBS store games. It is one of the better of the BBS games available. So put it at number 3. And if you want a place to check it out at, just go to lord.gear.host. That is lord.gear.host. Or you can find numerous other places to play it as well. I'll go ahead and show the rest of the rankings so far. And the games are pretty much evenly split between the top games, the middling games that we'd still recommend you check out if you like the genre, and then the not recommended games. But hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and have a great day.